And we're live. Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. We have a Springbok team to face France. It's a very interesting Springbok team. There are so many different talking points. The only combination that's actually stayed the same is our loose chair and the center pairing. Everything else is different this weekend. It's a very interesting box side, and so many different talking points, really. And the big one is Monty Liebach will make, well, in theory, will make his debut off the bench this weekend. He has been named on the bench. We have gone with a 5-3 split, which is in itself quite an interesting decision. And a very sort of rejig pack, a very different looking bench, for example. A different front three, a different halfback pairing. No Jaden Hendrickson in the entire 23. So lots of very big calls being made by Jacques Nienaber and his team, and very interesting to see what people say about it. So the big thing is we're going to first of all, I'm going to put the team up. That is how we do line up, and we're going to go through it in a bit. But now, while you look at it, I want to know if you guys like the team or don't like the team. Do you like the Springbok team? Yes or no? It's that easy. It's a yes or no answer. And before we go any further, a big shout out and thank you to Marius Smith, who has just become a member of the Forever Sports Members Club. Thank you very much, Marius. Really appreciate it. If you'd like to become a member of the Members Club, the link is there. It's a small sort of monthly, basically donation to support the channel. You do get a couple of perks and stuff with it, and it really helps us continue doing what we're doing and to make your experience better. So to make this all look better, to make sure that our graphics are cool, to make sure that our match day coverage is the best that we can deliver, all that sort of support goes right into that. So yeah, basically everything we get, we pour straight back into the channel. You know, that's why, you know, buying mics, buying better cameras, going on tour so that we can bring you guys for the press conference and stuff like that when they are in South Africa. That's what all it all comes from the members and all of you guys support. So yeah, I've got the poll going, and it's looking much closer to what we saw last week, where people were very happy with the team. I think that this is going to be a little bit more contentious, I think. But I personally quite like the changes, actually. I think that we have made changes based on the performance last week, which I think is a good thing. You know, you do. I mean, I don't want to be too reactionary, but I think that we have had to make a couple of changes, and I think that they're good changes, to be honest. Some of them have been forced. For example, Lood de Jager has been ruled out for the rest of the Autumn Nation series. As a result, Franco Master does start in the 5 jersey. Marvin Uri on the bench. So that is an injury-enforced change. You know, we don't have much control about that. And then, but apart from that, you know, a new front row. I must admit, I know that we also spoke about the fact that Malcolm Marx has to start and stuff like that. And I think when Bongi Manambi was missing, I think that was a no-brainer. I do quite like the idea of Oxenchair, Bongi, and Manambi starting, because I think that French starting front row is very solid, very good. I mean, Cyril Bay, Julien Marchand are two world-class operators. They really are. Same Uni Antonio. So I think that, you know, the front row for the French is going to give us a real test. But if those three can survive it, if those three can do a job, I reckon Malcolm Marx, Stephen Kitsoff, and Vincent Koch will absolutely wreck the replacement front row for France. I do think they will. And I think that's what we're kind of hoping, you know, because I think the biggest issue is last week, the bomb squad did make a difference, you know, but we didn't get to unload it as we liked, because obviously we saw Franco Master coming on a bit earlier. But I do think at this bench, the front row, I think will have a big impact. And I think that, you know, Oxenchair is a very nice ball carrier, for example. I think that he'll add quite a lot of physicality. The pack, you know, I think it's a decent pack. You know, at the end of the day, Oxenchair, Bongi, Manambi, we saw these guys starting against the British Lions. You know, so it's not new. You know, the fact of them starting. And again, I don't think there's a huge drop off between them. And I really think that Bongi Manambi, especially, is someone who can really get into the French's face and be quite sort of confrontational. So I quite like the front row. Second row, you can't really argue that. And there's no drop in quality whatsoever between Lood de Jager and Franco Mostert. It's the same back row. It's always going to be the same back row as long as Jasper Wiese could stay fit. I think that probably the biggest loser in this whole situation is Evan Roos, and fans will get very annoyed. But at the end of the day, it was they wanted him to play in the SAA side, but Jasper Wiese did pick up a knock, and they weren't sure if he was going to make it. So they couldn't leave Evan Roos behind, and then Jasper Wiese not make the team, and then suddenly sit there going, well, now what do we do? So I think Evan Roos has been very unlucky. I do think that he plays against Italy, and he will play against. I do think he will play against Italy, and then either he or Kwagga Smith will play against England. So I do think that Evan Roos will have 2 more Test caps to his name by the end of the Autumn Nation series. And I look at that loose trio, and I've got absolutely no issue with Jasper Wiese starting. You know, I think that he has been very good this year. I think he's very direct, and I think the strong ball carrying presence is going to be needed this weekend. Very competitive, and I thought as a defense has come a long way. PSF to Toy for me looked a lot better last weekend, and I think as well, you know, from a physicality point of view, we do want to try and bully this French pack, which is not going to be an easy feat at all, especially that loose trio, you know, Anthony Delon, Charles Olivan, Gregory Aldred, phenomenal loose trio. So this loose trio battle has got me licking my lips. I 100% agree with Faf de Klerk coming in for Jaden Hendrickson. I thought that Hendrickson probably had his worst game in a Bok jersey last weekend, and he wasn't that he was too terribly bad. Just wasn't quite accurate enough. I don't think he was aware enough. He's a bit sort of slow at the breakdown. Not so much in terms of playing the ball, but just, you know, slow to react to a couple of situations. Kicking game wasn't entirely there. So, and I thought that Faf de Klerk, when he came on, actually looked a bit more like the Faf de Klerk of old. And whilst he hasn't been playing his best rugby, Faf de Klerk, and I was watching Chasing the Sun and just remembering how good he was and how important he was to our winning effort. When Faf de Klerk's on song, he's phenomenal. And especially from a defensive point of view, you know, you think of that rush defense. You know, that's very important. And Faf de Klerk's very important to that. Pierre Steph Toy is very important to that. And I do think we are going to try and rush the French and try and, you know, put them on the back foot. Let's look at this backline, shall we? David Williams back to 10. I've got no issue with it, really. I don't think, you know, we're ever going to start Liebok against France. You know, I don't think it would have been fair on either player. I do think that Villiers Leroux coming into the side will help Damien Willemse a lot. But I would like to see Damien Willemse playing a bit more of a fly half role. I think he needs to understand what his role is, and I think he just needs to stop almost overplaying at the moment. I think that was sort of what I kind of felt on Saturday. Sometimes he almost looked like he was overplaying, you know, trying to do too much, always trying to, you know, whenever he's got the ball, trying to see if he can beat a man, you know, whenever he's trying to kick, try and find those extra yards, try and do something a bit special. And I think, you know, when Damien Williams is on song, he does those things, and a lot of it comes off. But I think what we just need to do is to understand when to do it and when not to do it. And that's still part of the sort of growth mindset. And I don't think, you know, we're not going to bin Damien Williams after one poor performance when he's been arguably within our top 5 best performers. He's been our best backline player this year by a country mile. It's quite easy to say that, actually. And so he does start at 10. I'm very interested to see Kurt Lawrence and Cheslin Colby as the 2 wings. Not the biggest, but I think, you know, Lawrence has got a big game ahead of him up against Damien Pinot, who absolutely wrecked Tom Wright last weekend. He's a very good winger. Damon Delenda, Jesse Creel, you know, up against Dante and Gail Fiku, we do assume will be a very tasty battle. And I think Villiers Leroux into the side. I don't even think people have now, I think, finally probably realized how important he is to the side. He came on last week and basically played a massive part in both the tries that we scored. So yeah, I think that's fine. Then we look at the bench. It's a pretty straightforward bench. It's very interesting to see Kobus Reinach just come onto it. I think offers a lot of pace. There's a lot of pace coming off the bench, actually, if you think of the likes of Kwagga Smith, Kobus Reinach, Mani Liebok, Mapimpi. You know, I think Liebok will, as long as he rises to the occasion. He also, I think, coming on later in the game, I think he'll be allowed to play more his natural game than if he had started. You know, when you start a game, it's usually very tight. You don't usually have the same license to attack and to take risks. But as the game opens up a little bit towards the end, for example, there'll be a bit more space, hopefully, for him. And hopefully, we're hoping that he'll be seeing off a game rather than trying to chase a game. And I think that's the main thing, is to just sort of stay with the French the entire way through. The goal kicking will once again will be a concern this week. There's no doubt about it. And whether it's Damien Willemse, whether it's Cheslin Colby, whether it's Faf de Klerk, they do need to make a decision pretty early who's going to be backed, and that person needs to step up on the day, because we can't be sitting there turning down 3-pointers when you're 10-15 meters inside from the touchline because you're worried about your goal kicker. We have to be able to take the points. If we can't take the points, we're going to be in trouble. And that's a massive part of this weekend, is being in a position, winning those penalties, for example. And the thing I think that we were so frustrated about last weekend is how much possession did we have, how much territory did we have inside key areas against Ireland. But it's our inability to convert that pressure into points, which is really haunting us. And I think that that's something that needs to improve a lot this weekend in terms of converting pressure into points. And that's kind of been our story the entire year, you know. So let's go into some of the comments, shall we? There's a lot to catch up here. A lot of people on the stream. Please do smash a like, by the way. Over 200 people watching, less than 20 likes. Let's get those likes up, people. But going through some of them, I'm just going to select some of them here. There's far too many to read all of them, unfortunately. But Sinead Clayton was saying, let's leave up being in the match day 20 team. He is. Just Woke Up TV says, I got the pack right in my selection. Just the only one was where Pimpy was the surprise. Damon needs to learn to kick consistently. Burgess says, once again, about some good calls, some head scratches in there. David saying, hope to see Mani at 10, Damien 12, Villi at 50 in the second half, 100%. Jesse, our tax stop dead off 10 last weekend. I don't see why we insist on Willems at 10, so annoyed, because you're not going to throw Mani Liebach into your test debut against arguably the best side in the world right now. Forskin saying, we shouldn't be there. Quacker deserves to start, and we should have brought Mona staying with us. We're not going back to Mona staying. Let's be honest. Come on. We can't just... Also, I mean, as much as we need a good goal kicker, you can't play a man just for his goal kicking. Man is very much not in for international rugby anymore. Let's let him rest. He's done his time. He's done his times. Matthew saying, mixed feelings. Haven't really seen this combination, but think it holds a lot of potential. 100%. Roberto says, what's the point of Faf? He just kicks everything. Guys, Faf de Klerk was a much better than Jaden last weekend, if we're being brutally honest here. So I don't mind him starting there. And again, defensively, very important to the box game plan. Robert says, would like to have seen Urs get a chance, seeing as he's missing out in the midweek game against Munster. Yeah, I think he's the biggest loser. He would have played in that SAA game if there wasn't that doubt over Jasper Wiese, which is one of the reasons that the two Dupree brothers were brought in. But Timber says, like the inclusion of Faf. Jenkins was never going to play after he was named yesterday. So if you're surprised, then obviously you haven't seen the SA side. Ricardo says, could have shifted Liebach 10, Willems at 15, and Villiers off the bench, where he's played well from this year. But I think, to be fair, I think that this team is giving Willems the best chance to succeed at 10. And I don't think his future is at 10. I do think his future is at inside center and probably 15 for forming the box. But we are in a 10 crisis, and look, we are going to see him improve, I think, in the 10 position. But I think the biggest and maybe the more important thing is, at the moment, Damien Willems is very much in the France Stain mold as a utility player for the World Cup. If he needs to come up during the World Cup on a 10, he needs to have actually played there a couple of times. So there is a certain amount of this is important prep moving forward to be able to give him exposure, playing in that position in high pressure games as well. I mean, he's played against the number 1 team in the world. We came up with him 3. And then he's going to play against the number 2 team in the world as well. So it's big pressure on him. But, I think there's a lot of improvement he could find. If he can learn a lot of lessons out of it, and we can still find a result, for example, then everyone's a winner. Jaden says it would be great to, no, I think we already read that. Ivan said they should have made minimal change to the pack, put Liebach at 10, Willems at 12, rest of the backline is fine. Ruiz at 8 would have been a good pick, strength and establish 8, 10, 12 combo. Feast as a liability offers nothing. I mean, apart from being one of the best players in the Premiership and has had some very good games for us this year. Ajit saying, I don't understand why management don't recognize reliable goalkeeper. They don't include it with Ireland, but struggle with proper number 10. Contentious saying the box fell into the trap of starting Villi. He kicks too much first half. Would have kept him off the bench. Maybe have Mapimpi on a 30. Maybe this is where he could have the ball. Chaps, you know how much ball we're going to get from France this weekend. France kicked 36 times out of hand last weekend. They kick more than any other team in World Rugby. Fun fact. So yeah, I think Villiers is going to be very important. And they don't often kick to contest. They very much kick to open up space. It's not always just an up and under, try and win the possession back, stuff like that. They very much will kick quite tactically, look at where your replies are, and sort of try and find field position and stuff like that. It's very interesting looking into their kicking game and the way they do it. So I think Villiers being selected is the right decision. We talk about the fact that the box look toothless, that we haven't conjured up anything on attack, we look our most threatening with Villarreal on the park. That's unfortunately not even an opinion anymore. It's just a fact. We've just seen it. We do look so much better with ball in hand on the attack when Villarreal is on the field. So if we want us to try and find try scoring opportunities, we want us to be an attacking threat throughout the game, Villarreal has to be on the field. It's quite simple. You want to be an attacking team, you want to have attacking output, you have to have your best attacking player on there. And he is. He is our best attacking player. You want to put Curtly Aronson and Chisholm Colby into positions to score tries, he's the person who's best placed to do that. So, yeah, Ivan says, continuity is important since they can implement learnings from last week. Now they go and make so many changes. Changes in the backline I mentioned are absolutely necessary, though. Well, to be fair, I think the only change, the changes are on the front row. And then it's an enforced change for Franco Mostert. So there's 3 changes to the pack, and then there's, 2 changes to the backline. 3 changes to the backline. 2 new players into the backline and a positional switch. 2 positional switches. Curtly Aronson swapping wings, Chisholm Colby into wing. But Villarreal and Faf de Klerk, the only 2 new players into the backline, 3 new players into the pack. So I wouldn't say it's wholesale changes. I suppose it's half a team, but yeah. Matthew said, do you think if Liebach comes and Willemse will go on or out or just be moved to another position? I suppose it depends on how the game goes. I don't think they've got a plan just yet on who's exactly going to move and stuff, because obviously things do change. Why does Russ never get a chance? Russ will play next weekend. Don't stress. Also, he was going to play in the SAA team until that's what he said, to pick up an injury. So he was going to play on Thursday night. And it's an interesting concept, because 2 months ago, Albert Lowe would have been retained in the side, in the squad, instead of Evan Russ. And Evan Russ would have played SAA, and Albert Lowe wouldn't have. But Evan Russ is actually now closer to the Bok team than he was 2 years ago, despite him not playing on Thursday. The reason he's not playing on Thursday is because he's on the brink of the Bok selection. And with no Dwayne Vermeulen there this weekend, he's now basically our current number 2 8th man. So, whereas, unless we go with Quacker Smith at 8, but we actually haven't really seen Quacker Smith start at 8 this season. So, I think that he's actually a lot closer to the box than he's ever been before. And I think we will see him against England. I think that's an inevitability, given the fact that we won't see Asper Visa. But yeah, it's just he's just unfortunately the luck of the draw just wasn't against him this week. Simon say Billy is there to organise that team, so I understand why Willem says that 10 again last week was probably the first stinker he had, and it will be unfair to drop him. Faf should be the goal kicker. It would be interesting to see if maybe Faf does kick for goal. But Chris says, I hope Colby and Aronson don't concede a high tackle. Aronson saying, I agree, Willemse needs exposure in case he's needed during the World Cup at 10. This tour is the best opportunity for this. Ivan saying, I do like the wings. Yeah, very exciting wings in terms of pace. And also, what's very important for me is we've got to look and see who can replace Bapimpi. Even if Bapimpi's at number 11, we're going to back him, which is fine. If he gets injured, for example, we had nobody playing at 11. And Spoon Corsi, I think, was probably set to get an opportunity there this tour. And then he got injured as well. And he's now had a very bad last sort of 12 months of injuries. So we do need to look, into other options for 11. So keen to see how Curtly Aronson does go there. S-Box saying, our 9 is the problem. After our forwards did hard work, 9 thinks he is a horde trying to hook the ball towards him. Then the other teams have plenty of time to organise their defence. Sean says, why not give Estes and minutes? I think you missed a trick by not starting Reinach. I would say, was a bit late with the comment last video, but your channel has been a game changer in SF Rugby. Can't keep it up. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate all you guys for jumping on here. Carl said, Box won't attack. They want opposing team to have the ball and make mistakes. This is our game plan. Where's Kane Moody? Still injured. I'd rather put Villy on 11 and Curtly on 15. I disagree. We usually have a playmaker at 15. Which is why it's been Villy LaRue, Damien Williams, even Chisholm Colby to a certain degree. But Chisholm Colby not really the same sort of mould. Warwick Lunt was, I think, primed to be there until he had a couple of very poor games for the Box. Rennock is missing out, sadly. Well, he's coming out in the second half. Jaden says, I feel like the fact that we don't have a goal kicker will encourage the Gents to go for the corner and score tries like everyone's been begging for. Oh, I don't think we're ever really satisfied as Box fans, because, we always, back when we were kicking for goal, it was like, oh, why do we never go for the points? We don't back ourselves, we don't score tries. And then this last weekend, we saw the issues of not going for goal. So I do think we still have to be taking points. Test match rugby at the end of the day. And somebody has to step up. And again, I do think this is a team that will provide a lot of answers moving forward. And it's like always, as I said, as we've been speaking about the entire year, it's always this constant grapple. How much do we, emphasize success now? How much do we emphasize success, in a World Cup? And we don't want to be a team that exists World Cup to World Cup, although we do have a British and Irish Lions series in our bank. So it's not been a bad time, but I think, frustratingly, I think, we were very close and should have won the Rugby Championship this year. So you look at this and think, how important is it to win on Saturday versus how important is it to find questions, to answer questions, if Saturday helps you build to 2023 and you won't win, you look back this year and you think, it's fine. That Irish game last week wasn't a knife edge, really, if we're being brutally honest. It was a 3-point game at the end of the day, So, yes, we lost. Ireland played well. I thought we played well at parts. I didn't think we played well, particularly well overall. I think we've had much better performances. And we went toe-to-toe with the best team in the world. We can confidently say, I feel like we can confidently, as Springbok fans, say that we can beat any team in the world. But we're not guaranteed to beat every team in the world. And I think that's kind of, where we sit. So I don't think there's a team that walks into a park and you sit there saying, Boks don't have a chance. Or it's unlikely the Boks will win. I do feel that we're still, even when he walks into Ireland, a lot of people are still punting us as favourites, which I think was interesting, given the fact that we are away to the number one team in the world. But so I don't think the Boks are in this big disaster that we all think we are. I really don't. And people, you just don't want to criticize the coaching staff, yada 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 yada. I'm very happy. I spoke about the fact that they need to take. In the Rugby video I put out, I said that they need to take responsibility. But my biggest issue is can we see a plan? Is there a plan? So you look at the side and say, okay, what is the plan here? What if we go and win, for example, then this team, we're all very happy. But what can we learn from this team? We are going to go and play France in Stade de France, where we will be playing the World Cup final, for example, will be at Stade de France. So we are playing at a World Cup final venue next year, as well as both semi-finals at Stade de France next year. So this is a venue that we're going to be hopefully playing next year, because hopefully at the very least we get to a semi-final. So playing at that venue against an opponent we could be playing against, by the way, what can we learn out of this lineup? And if you're sitting there going, right, we're going to find out if Damien Willemse is an option at 10, cool. That's a big like potential tick box there. We're going to find out whether it's a cross or a tick. That's the question we're being asked. What else can we look at? Can Oxenchair, Bongi, Manambi, France Maherba versus the Malcolm Mark, Stephen Kitsoff, Vincent Koch, can they work? Do we still have the two? At one stage we used to say quite confidently we had the two best front rows in the world, or two of. Do we still have that? And Oxenchair, Bongi, Manambi, France Maherba, France Maherba is our best tight head, but you'd argue that Malcolm Mark, Stephen Kitsoff are slightly ahead of Oxenchair, Bongi, and Manambi. Can they do a job against Julian Marchand, Silbai, Uni Antonio? Can they do a job against what is one of the best front rows in the world? That's a big question that we can try and answer this weekend. Chesn Colby, Vililu, Kurt Lawrence. If Kurt Lawrence at 11, is he an option at 11? That's something we can answer this weekend. Or we can start to get a better answer. Chesn Colby maybe back at 14. Is Vililu, how important is he to the Springbok side? Is he like that essential? We'll find that out this weekend. Can Molly play international rugby? We'll get a little taste of it this weekend. And we can't judge him just solely based on this weekend. But it's a wonderful, wonderful stage for him to make his debut and to say, put his hand up and say, I'm ready. And if he has an absolute stinker, then we can't throw him away. We can't discard him. But we do say, okay, so he needs more exposure. Can we give him that exposure? Is there time to make Molly Liebach test match ready? That's the big thing. Faf de Klerk, for example, he's fallen out of favor. He's been a reserve scrum off. Now you're saying to him, right, Faf, you're playing against France. We need to see the Faf we saw in 2019, or else Jaden Hendrickson is going to continue playing. And We brought in Kobus Reinhardt because that means if he has a good cameo off the bench, guess what, Faf? You actually might not find yourself in the 23. And I doubt that's the conversation they're having, but those are questions, again, that can be answered. If Kobus Reinhardt has a brilliant cameo off the bench, are we sitting there going, is he a starter? Is he our best bench option, for example? 5-3 split versus 6-2 split. That's another thing that we can look at this weekend. Are we maybe a bit more balanced right now, with the fact that we don't have Luat Diago, with the fact that we don't necessarily have the forwards to make the impact? I mean, you think about our bomb squad in the World Cup when it was, Malcolm Marx, Steven Kitshoff, Vincent Koch, Franco Mostert, Archie Snyman, and Francois Lowe. Do we have the players to be able to have that sort of impact? Or do we actually have to take a step back and say, listen, we actually don't have the forwards that are going to make as big an impact, and therefore it's actually better to have that extra backline player? So again, we'll get information about that this weekend. And I think the biggest thing is our backline hasn't been firing on all cylinders this year, but so what needs to change? What needs to change for them to be able to do that? And if this weekend you sit there going, okay, that's David Williams has now had 3 matches at 10 or 4 matches at 10 or 3 matches at 10, hasn't really worked, not getting the background fine, just doesn't really do that. Then we go and say, cool, Money-Bok play against Italy next week. And then if he plays well, cool, Money-Bok play against England. Jan Goosen has a stormer on Thursday, and they say, right, let's drive Jan Goosen into the Bok team and we play him. Or Johnny Lombard, for example, comes off and has an absolute stormer of a game. We've got 2 matches this weekend. We're going to see 46 South African players play across 2 days. Thursday, Saturday, 46 players within our World Cup group will play rugby. And we get to sit there go, yes, no, not yet. Maybe not ever again. So I do think that we are in for a 48-hour period where we're going to get so many answers about this. And that's why, the result obviously massive, and we want to basically go and win both these two. But I do think we're also in a situation where we're going to answer so many questions. And as more than just a casual fan who just flicks on the TV and watches the game, that was what's so exciting for me, is I feel like there's so much information that we're going to get in this week period. And what will be interesting, for example, Marvin Orie comes on, doesn't play particularly well. Jason Jenkins has a storm of a game on Thursday. Next week, you then say, right, Marvin Orie, go play SAA. Jason Jenkins coming to the box squad. These things can actually happen. Henko van Wyk has a phenomenal game on Thursday. Jesse Creel picks an injury on Saturday. You go, right, Henko or Cornel Hendricks, you come to the box squad. You might even play next weekend. So with this team, I think what's also very nice is that they'll play 2 days after the SAA game. So when those guys go out, and they'll say that they're all together and there's no and there is competition and that they're all on the same page. But you are Jesse Creel and Henko van Wyk goes and puts a man of the match performance on Thursday. You're now sitting there going, right, I've got to prove my worth. And I think he did last week, to be fair to him. Jason Jenkins goes and puts in a great performance this weekend. The other lock's going to sit there going, okay, I need to jack up. I think that there's a lot of players in that SAA squad who could very much start putting pressure on some of the Bok players. And the nice thing is that they do play first. So the Bok players will take to the field, and in the back of the mind, they'll sit there going, shit, someone's after my position. They've got data on him. He played well. He can be called in here tomorrow. Like, they'll probably fly from Cork on Thursday. They'll probably fly to France on Friday. I'm sure they will be, and they'll be there on Saturday. Because if there are last-minute injuries and stuff like that, and you need someone to jump on the bench, then you can do that. So, you could have a player who you very, very aware performed really well, watching on going, listen, that shirt of yours looked nice. I think it'll look fantastic on me as well. So from a very much a rugby, enthusiast point of view, I think there's that part that is really, really quite cool for this week. Going back to some of the comments, Keelan says, I think we are trying to answer questions for the World Cup, and I personally feel that we learned a lot last week. And with the team we are filling this weekend, I feel like we'll learn even more. Randall says, Liebach needs gameplay. Takolo says, I think we need... Where is that comment going? I think we have too much talent, and the coach staff cannot adapt. Momentum is important. Jordan saying, who would be a replacement 10 if Pollard gets injured in the World Cup? Because Damien can't be the most consistent 10 SA needs. Well, that's what we're going to find out if Mighty Box is an option. We're going to find out if Jan Goosen's an option. We might start to find out if Johnny Lombard's an option, for example. If Alton Yankees gets himself back in the mix, is he an option? again, we're going to get information on 3 or 4 new flights. So this weekend, we'll get information on Damien, we'll get information on Lombard, we'll get information on Jan Goosen, and we'll give information on Liebach. How much? We don't know. But during this tour, for example, we'll get a lot of information about all 4 of those players who are all genuine candidates for the World Cup. Matthew says, I think kicking for touch will benefit us more in this match, especially in the second half, as our pack should overpower the French. It's a good French pack, though. What is happening with our maul drive? What was once a strength and at times a guaranteed try almost every time we went to the corner. Now we struggle to get any momentum when you're in the 22. Yeah, one of the biggest sort of work-ons that we do have to, that we do need to sort out. Matthew saying, World Cup final dress rehearsal is on Saturday. Whoever loses will win the World Cup. Interesting point. SPRINGBOK says, you can say what you want. The forwards are getting tired of putting their lives on the line week after week and the backs can't score. Get the right 9, speed up the game and swing it wide. Ruan's saying we need more forward back into play, not just forward play, and we also need high ruck speed, then we will start doing damage. Our backline also needs to look up and identify overlaps and not just kick. Carl says the day staff and coaches are allowed to select the best possible players for the rest of the cup. Oh, Jesus, what a fucking yawn comment. I mean, we won the World Cup. I mean, what's it? We'll not be able to compete against the world. We've literally got the World Cup in our flipping trophy cabinet, dude. Like, it's literally there. Do you want to go see it? Go down to Cape Town, go into the museum, go sketch out the World Cup. Let me know what it looks like. Let me know what the British Irish Lions team looks like. Such a stupid comment. Come on. I mean, really. Lord saying forwards are good, backs are struggling. Ricardo says just need variation on attack. When we on 3-on-1, we need to kick the ball. Just don't make sense. The guys not allowed to play. Would like to see Liebach start for him at 12, says Mark. Abdullah saying part of what makes our defense so strong with Pollard is the constant ticking over of points, which demoralizes other teams as we slowly take the game. I don't think it's fair to judge new players based on one game. I would have liked to have seen 10 Liebach, 11 Arns, 12 Willemse, 13 Henko Verbeek, 14 Colby, 15 Willie/Willemse. Yeah, well, let's let Henko play up some SAA games before we worry about him playing in the box yet. Contentious says, we could have had an opportunity to play. We could have had lots of turnovers and some nice crash ball. Uri is under some pressure. He offers only lineouts. Can we show some more on Saturday? A big welcome to Joshua Peter Smith, who is the latest member to the Fair Sports Members Club. Thank you very much. Jesus said, do you think the front 3 can match the France front 3? Well, that's what we're going to find out, aren't we? King is my real name. Says, glad to see Pimpy replaced. Nothing against Pimpy, but he's been the only limb for a long time. 100%. We do need to build that. We do need to build that depth. JD Quinn saying, most important issue goal kicking not addressed. Is this the plan for the World Cup? And if it's not, what's the point of playing without a goal kicker? There's no doubt that goal kicking is going to be a very hot topic within that Bok selection and that team. So yeah, I think that I don't know what the answer is. Obviously we're waiting on Pollard to come back. We've obviously lost out on Alton Yankee, so we do need to look at other options. And as I say, I think the SAA side hopefully will give us some more information about it. Ricardo says Johnny Lombard, exciting player, kicks well and good all-around game. Do you also feel like Esther should not shoot up so much because they leave so many space open? What is the difference between Stormer's game plan and the box game plan? A lot. For example, if you look at Aaron Ruiz, he plays a lot within he occupies a lot of time. You'll see him running in with the centers and we run with the back line, which is very different to where Jasper Wiese, for example, finds his space. So yeah, I mean it's difficult when of course that you're doing an entire analytical breakdown of the two, but they are very different styles of playing rugby. Yeah, we're going to wrap it up there, people. So thank you very much for jumping on. As I said, it's a very interesting box side. We will wait to see exactly what will happen. Again, we've got the South Africa A game on Thursday, which is going to be very exciting. We will be live for that game, obviously. We've got a video on how to watch that coming up this afternoon. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, apart from that, we'll see you guys tomorrow for the usual daily sort of live stream. We'll do that tomorrow and Thursday. We'll then be live on Thursday evening for the South Africa A versus Munster, which I'm really looking forward to. And yeah, plenty of other, we'll have the Springbok press conference up within the next hour. Jacques Nyoba will be sort of taking us through the team as well as some of the injury updates and what we can expect to see. And yeah, then we'll have some more player interviews and stuff like that as well over the next couple of days. So there are almost 300 people watching at the moment. We're sitting on, like, we need 120 people to get to 21,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed and you are currently watching, then please can you just subscribe and do the right thing. Apart from that, people, have a fantastic day further. Please do keep well, and I will chat to you guys all very soon.